Continue with the second half of the broadcast this morning, right here on News and Views. And it's just sad to note that the world has lost its humanity in more ways than one. If we look at what is taking place in Palestine, it's the sense of humanity that we see, the sense of care that is missing. And this is the reason why we see all this brutality, we see this savagery, we see this genocide that is unfolding. And this loss of humanity manifests itself in more ways than one. Right across the entire world, we see it with governments, we see the oppressors versus the oppressed, we see the disconnect between government and its people, we see the rich versus poor, we see it playing out all the time. And this includes the corporate world, and these are vultures that prey on their employees. And this is exactly what the African Transformation Movement is saying in this press release, talking about the behavior and the actions of the management of the Impala Bafokeng Platinum Resources, their failure to resolve a number of issues that have been raised by the employees, their behavior. There was a tragic death of 13 employees in a personal conveyance accident. And this is what the ATM is saying. This shows that the mine management has lost its sense of humanity and care. And this is the reason why we are joined by Zama Nshona, the spokesperson for the African Transformation Movement. Zama, good morning to you and welcome to the show.
Good morning to you and the listeners.
Yes, for the very reasons that I spoke of in my introduction, the don't care attitude, the loss of sense of humanity, and through this press release by the ATM, you've obviously come out very, very strongly in your condemnation of the reported actions by the management of the Impala Bafokeng Platinum Mine.
Most definitely. But I would like to start with some of the issues that you have raised in your intro, especially when it comes to the Palestine-Israeli war. Truly, things that are coming there for us as the African Transformation Movement are appalling. It can be explained that this day and age we see such brutality netted against a nation, and the whole world keeps quiet. For us as the African Transformation Movement, understanding that the Israeli standout is for a 75-year-old period who must be subjected to such brutality for such a long time, and they must keep quiet. Who must be invaded? You'll remember that the Israeli-Palestine phenomenon goes on. In fact, when you look at Palestine was part of the Ottoman Turks empire for more than 400 years, governing that land, when the Balfour Declaration was done without the consultation of the Palestinian people. So the brutality that you're talking about is something that we are, as the African Transformation Movement, against, and it should not happen. This is why when capital and when white monopoly capital comes and it wields its ugly head over the workers of this country, we can't keep quiet. It can be that workers of this country are going to find themselves subjected to such atrocious acts and environments that are unfavorable. And when they raise their concerns, they will be, one way or the other, find themselves in a situation that they would either accept the status quo, and in doing so, accept the dangers to life. And if they raise, we know what happens in Marikana. They are faced with a scenario where they could lose their livelihoods for standing up for their rights. So for us as the African Transformation Movement, the brutality and the sense of entitlement of some and a few in this country who want to subject their will over the will of the people must truly be plucked out like a thorn that's in our flesh.
Zoma, in your press release, you've alluded to two issues. One being the condemnation of dubious transactions that impact the workers at the Impala Bafokeng mine, and the second calling for ministerial intervention. And perhaps if you could just provide a lot more on what some of these issues are in terms of this condemnation, and is the government doing enough?
Thank you so much. For us as the African Transformation Movement, we believe that whenever capital chooses profits over the safety of the individual, something that is as basic as ventilation, you know, being able to provide a safe environment for workers, it's something that comes as a standard. If you are involved in the mining industry, the little you can do is to make sure that those who go underground, who come with the precious metal, are protected. Now, if you're going to have accident after accident, recently we had an accident that involved 13 people who lost their lives. Now, the issue of security becomes important now. This brings about the issue of monitoring and evaluation and compliance. How is it that we have such atrocious acts happening in our country and the government does not do anything? Because if the government cared about its people, it would actually address that issue. This is why we then, from the issues of dubious transactions that prioritize profits over the livelihoods of people, we then go out to the government and say, as an enabling and a monitoring body, a regulatory body of this country, who has the mandate of protecting the people of this country, what are you doing? Intervene in this matter before we lose more people. So there must be a delicate balance that the government strikes between profits and the livelihoods of people. And right now, a mandate that we have given to the government is that the government must protect the people of this country from enemies from the outside and from enemies from the inside. Now they must intervene on this because we are going to lose more lives and lose more livelihoods by it.
So, what are some of the specific interventions on the part of the government that you are hoping for?
One, let's see to it that the monitoring and evaluation of businesses such as these or industries such as this is a monitoring and evaluation that is happening. It must be revised. It must be seen to be doing what needs to be done, because it can't be that we are reporting incident after incident and there is generally no joy that is found by the workers, and we say that the monitoring and evaluation of industries such as this is working. So the government must start there. The government must engage the mine bosses to see to it if there is adherence to the norms and standards of the industry as prescribed. And after that, it must look at its own monitoring and evaluation tools and individuals and see if there is a problem. If there's a problem, there must be beefing up of that particular unit, and not only that, further capacitation so that we're able to deal with it. Three, the issue of the government, the workers, and mine bosses. Now, government and the unions and the mine bosses, that there must be a revival of those three-way talks on regular basis. They must not wait for the disintegration of the relationship or the victimization of people for them to seek and monitor. They must be able to see a problem from very far out so that we prevent. We must have a preventative attitude towards problems instead of wanting to solve problems when they have actually occurred. So these are some of the interventions as the African Transformation Movement are looking into. And where the mine bosses are not willing to adhere to rules and regulations, harsh penalties to a point where we strip them off their license. They must not operate if they do not want to toe the line as far as the agreed upon rules and regulations of each industry.
So I'm also just looking at the tragedy that had occurred. I mean, 13 people died. We've seen what had happened in the case of Marikana. And again, consequences for these actions. Now, this is extremely important because, very little we see by way of justice being served, for the affected mine workers, for their families, for those that they've left behind. And this has become a major point, it's become a sticky point as well, where we see that there is this lack of recourse, this is a lack of justice, especially when we have fatalities, when we have tragedies like the one that occurred with the 13 employees.
As the African Transformation Movement, we are a party that advocates for accountability. It is one of the five values of the African Transformation Movement. And if you look at how we've been going about our business, especially in holding the executive accountable in this country, accountability is a very key feature and a very key value of who we are. Now, not in any different way in this case. The African Transformation Movement wants to see accountable leadership. We want to see accountable business people. We want to see accountable mind bosses in all of this. And there must be justice for the people who have been done wrong. It can't be business as usual. You remember that. The families of the city now have to fend themselves after losing a breadwinner in an economy in South Africa that is not conducive towards growth, nor speaking to the livelihoods of people. Now, see that the government is serious. The justice system of the Republic of South Africa must be serious about this thing. And we must get to a point where the accounting officers of industry must be brought to book when under their watch there has been negligence. We must begin to see that this thing is serious so that people take this thing of safety in their industries very seriously. It must not just be an accident and it is left there. And when you interrogate the type of accident, you see that it is something that can be actually something that could have been avoided. It's only that the mine bosses in this example could have cut corners because they do not want to spend more on security, on providing the environment. Now, investigations must be conducted in such scenarios so as to be able to establish if this is truly a human error or this is something that we could say it was intentional because somebody wanted to pocket instead of investing. And in cases such as those, it is important that these people must be brought to book and they must face the full might of the law because instead of protecting workers, they've intentionally avoided scenarios where they have to do necessary investments for the protection of the people of this country. So accountability is key and it must be done even in this incident.
Well, Zama, thank you very much for that. And we're going to have to leave it at that. But we do appreciate you taking time out this morning, talking to us here on Salam Media. All the best to you. And please be safe.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to you and the viewers and the listeners. May they have a happy and festive season.
All the best as well. 9:33. Zama and Shona with us, the ATM spokesperson, with us this morning. We're going to go for a break. We come back. We're going to get an update on the initiative from Abdul Halim Hamza, who is the HOD Fund Development at Islamic Relief South Africa, Run for Gaza initiative.